sharing those songs of the faith that we've known for generations. The scripture today is found in the book of 2 Timothy, the first chapter, verse 5. And it reads, I am reminded of your sincere faith, which first lived in your grandmother Lois and in your mother Eunice, and I am persuaded now lives in you also. May God bless the reading, the hearing, and the reliving of these wonderful words and affirmations. Amen. When we hear this, we hear the names Lois and Eunice, but we also know that it's talking about Timothy. We've got two books there, 1 Timothy, 2 Timothy, but also we see Timothy's name in other of Paul's writings. But as we do that, we know that Timothy is a noted figure. But today I'd like for us to think about what helped Timothy become who he is in our remembrances, in our celebration, and our continue to be influenced by. We know his mom's name. We know his grandmother's name. We also know that his dad is basically footnoted, was a Greek, and I'd probably say was not a Christian, but we have the affirmation of these two women and the role and the influence that they had upon Timothy, and the relationship as missionaries, as pastors, that Paul and Timothy would have upon these missionary journeys and services to these communities that they would find themselves in. But also the friendship that Paul and Timothy had, even as Paul was in prison, he wanted to be visited by Timothy, and even as Paul prepared for his execution, that he wanted to have one last visit with Timothy. And Timothy eventually would face jail time himself because of his Christian faith. But we know with these influences that Timothy had in his life, it is those because of that faith that lived within his mother, his grandmother, that lived in him, with Paul's contributions of helping him to mature in the faith even further, and perhaps at an accelerated rate. But today we do want to celebrate Timothy and the faith that he had because of the role of these women in his life. Once again, those words, I remember your genuine faith, for you share the faith that first filled your grandmother Lois and your mother Eunice, and I know that same faith continues strong in you. Such an affirmation for Timothy, but also an affirmation for these two women, because they are among the few that are identified in the Bible for their contribution as a mother. We have Mary, the mother of Jesus, who is identified as a mom. We also have Hannah, the mother of Samuel, a child of a promise. And we have other women who are identified, but basically because of whose mom that they were, or whose wife that they were. And the dads sometimes are mentioned, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they get that footnote, was a Greek. But the affirmation is given to Lois, to Eunice, for the role that they had played in the Jewish development and the Christian development that would come in Timothy's life. Because moms make a difference.
Amen.
Moms make a difference.
Yes.
Even in recent times, we had notables in our time and history with John Quincy Adams, who says, "All that I am, my mother made me." Or Abraham Lincoln, "All that I am or hope to be, I own to my angel mother." Or Dwight Moody, who says, "All that I have ever accomplished in life, I owe to my mother." So these affirmations to the role and the contribution of moms, of grandmothers, are very, very powerful and important. Sometimes we wonder, sometimes we think, will we survive motherhood, parenthood? And sometimes we ask, am I this child's parent? Really? Is this mine? But a few years ago, the Barna study had given a report on what they found on teenagers and what they think and feel in this study, what they thought about their moms. Are you women ready for this? Dads, are you ready for this? Men, women, are you ready for this? Okay, the short version of it is that 6 out of 10 teenagers said that they are emotionally very close to their mothers. 9 out of 10 contend that emotionally they're at least fairly close to their mothers. And that it says that teens not only feel close to their mothers, but most of them have a substantial appreciation for how well she nurtures and raises them. Okay, since we finished TCAPs and everything else in school, you ready to hear the grades on moms? You ready? Okay, 75% gave her an A. I thought that was good. 20% a B, and 6% C or lower. But you know what? That's 11% better than Dad got. And so man, we gotta step up. But even with that, there was room for improvement. The kids, the teenagers that were asked that they would still like better communication with their moms, and they'd like to spend more time with their moms. They want moms to be in their lives. And then the sons indicated that they wanted more time with moms over the daughters. And so I thought that was, a good affirmation there as well. And 29% of the teenagers polled said they changed nothing about their mom. They loved her just the way she is. And so I thought that was good. So moms, you're the favorite. Men, you're not. You're close. 11% close. So future dads, get ready. But it is, when we think about the role of moms. When we fail as a child, who did we typically want to run to? Moms. You know why? Because the dad has a spray bottle of alcohol. Ain't that right, Monica, McKenzie, and Mary? Because they are there. They take care of us, and we want to have that. Also, in these studies, it talks about faith development, as in Timothy, Lois, and Eunice were very significant in the spiritual development and cultivation in Timothy's life. One of the things I have heard a lot of times throughout my pastoral career is a statement that just hinges upon a book, from back in college and seminary days. Will Our Children Have Faith was the title of the book. And whenever I would hear statements to the effect of, well, I want my children to decide for themselves what they believe. And after I beat my head thinking, no, we've got to influence them, we've got to share what is important to us. Because we communicate that as we talk about I love you and the way that we embody that word I love you. That we do have a tremendous opportunity to share the faith. Because if we don't do it, who will? Who will? We have public schools that we know the separation of church and state, and we know that there are some opportunities for Christian involvement that still happens. And thankfully, in recent times, that we've got to participate in Bible release time, Bible time. But still, that's 1 hour a month for 9 months out of the year. So 9 hours out of a year. Churches, we have many more opportunities there. But we also realize that sometimes those don't get to come. I know we're talking with one of our Wednesday night kids, I said, well, why don't you come to church on Sunday? Well, that's my day to sleep in. And I said, well, you can sleep in after church. Why don't you come? How come on Wednesday night? And I just thought, well, I like that honesty and everything, but still cultivating that. But also to see the invitations that this one extends and brings others with her. That's a faith development at the church. What an opportunity we have, what a responsibility has. But we also realize we've got to get on present, or we've got to go to where they are in order to do that. But the constant place is the home environment for families to share that faith, that measure of the Christian faith that is there. And hopefully it is growing and maturing as well. Because we realize that we can't give them our faith, but we can give them the experience of our faith, and hopefully that they will own that Christian faith. And as they do, that they too will continue the generational sharing, that there will be more and more that will believe. But we also realize that it's not the cultural trend that we see. So we have a great opportunity, we have a great responsibility to be the Loises, to be the Eunices, not just leaving that responsibility to the women, but thanking God for the role of women and the impact that they have upon us, but also for us as men to step up and to own that faith, to share that faith that we have, and to not be so quiet or reserved about it. Because in Proverbs we find these words, direct or train your children onto the right path, and when they were older, they will not leave it. How many parents, how many grandparents hold on to that? That whenever someone has left the faith, or left the church, or is not practicing the faith, how you hold on to that. But we also realize how important our role is. Timothy was affirmed in his family relationships with his teaching mom, teaching grandmother, and I'm sure as he went to the different churches and the different cities and locations, saw some of that, with the chance for new opportunities for first generation Christians to become second, third, fourth, fifth, on and on. And how important that it is to be able to teach the faith, to share the faith. In Deuteronomy, we have the Shema, which is from the scriptures. The Lord your God is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your strength. To be able to own the faith, to love God completely and fully. And for us to be able to do that in a way that others will come to know. And that is what we want. That is what we need. I don't think the church will ever cease to exist. I think that it can be minimized by the decreasing presence. And by doing that, we have a larger mission field that we all have to reach. So perhaps the toughest of all times. But what an important role. How many of you knew that your mother prayed for you, your grandmother prayed for you, or another saintly woman prayed for you? A Sunday school teacher, a friend, an aunt, an uncle, a father, a brother, an uncle, someone that we look to as faithful. Prayer is very, very powerful. In fact, we have a saint, Monica, who became a saint really because of one thing. She was known as a praying woman. She was known for praying for her son, who was a wayward son, a very intelligent son, one who exercised his mind, his ability to think. But eventually, the son owned the faith. And he too became a saint. And that is St. Augustine. And we think about the influences that he had, but the influence of a mom. Today we do celebrate women's place in our lives, and we cherish that. But we also need to accept the fact that as Christians, we have the opportunity that we must share the good news of our faith, of Jesus Christ, so that people will know the story. And as we do, that we can hear affirmations. Thank God for this person, whether blood-related, love-related, faith-related, that we can see an increasing of the faith in these day-to-day relationships that we have, that we know that family needs to become stronger, because how many grandparents are acting as parents, or how many foster parents or families are there. Thanks be to God for those influences, but we as a church family, what an opportunity we have, what a responsibility we have to help them to know that they are loved, to embody that love, and that the God who is the creator of all, the Redeemer, the Sanctifier, the abiding presence. We have that wonderful opportunity. So think about it today, and as we get ready for Father's Day next month, that we will be mindful of the opportunity we have to share the good news of our faith and to love and to show that love. Thanks be to God. Thanks, Lois. Thanks, Eunice. Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Mother figures. We thank you. Thanks be to God. Amen. Our last song is Happy the Home When God Is There. We'll sing the first and the last verse of this song. And it's 445. loving and glorious God, we give you thanks for the gifts of home, a place to call home, for those that love us and invest their time and energy in us. We give you thanks. We thank you for those who fill that role as mom, as grandmother, as maternal influence, who are your hands and feet and loving breath upon this earth.
Yeah.
We give you thanks.